Here with Anton. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hello. We weren't sure if this was actually going to work. We had some audio issues at first, but we managed to make it work through a different device. No AirPods.
Yeah, we're live.
All right, but we're live. It works. Let's get started. So we're gonna talk about. All right. So Robert, thanks for doing that. Now, see, I can see your photo and your name here, so that's gonna work. So that's how you do it. So we're here to talk about headless e-commerce. Honestly, I'm here as a total beginner on the topic. I'm interested in learning more about it. So Anton is the expert, and he does have a business around that as well. But we're here to focus on the topic and talk about what is headless e-commerce, what are the benefits of it, which platforms does this work on, etc. So honestly, I'll let you start talking about it, and then we'll go based on the questions, if any, or questions that I might have as well as you go along. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So essentially, if we're talking about the topic itself, like the platforms that offer headless is anyone that actually have API, like JSON REST API or GraphQL APIs. So the platforms like Shopify, the platforms like BigCommerce, the platforms like Magento, so all of them have headless enabled. There is headless platforms like that are Headless-first platforms. So there is like CommerceTools, Elasticpath, Snipkart, and essentially the main benefit of those, like the pattern itself, like the architecture, the main benefit is that you treat your system as a data source. So it removes the limitations. It basically allows you to craft the customer experiences the way you like them be crafted. So you're not limited by the specific ways how the particular company created their own software. So you're able to create all the things by yourself. And if we're talking about platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, or let's say Magento, you are able to create a front-end part of your experiences in case you obviously working on the headless implementation, you would be able to free yourself on the front-end part. But if you utilizing like a fully headless e-commerce systems like Elasticpath or Snipkart or some others, that would allow you to craft front end and also back end part of your e-commerce system to the specific needs. So if you have specific requirements on how your system is supposed to be managed from the admin panel perspective, you would be able to implement that as well. So that's what the essential benefits. But if you would go and Google what headless actually can do for you, majority of cases, like the simple explanation is like headless would allow you to output your products onto different mediums, like VR goggles, like Apple Watch, and like different weird devices, but not necessarily it's the biggest benefit and the most, let's say, useful way of utilizing this. So that's what would be sort of practical way of treating this architectural pattern.
Okay, interesting. So let's talk a little bit about platforms. You did mention them briefly, and I know that you have a solution as well, right? B2 storefront.com, I think. And so does headless usually go more on certain platforms than others? Has it been more implemented? Is it more popular on certain ones, whether it's Magento or BigCommerce, Shopify, WooCommerce, whatever it is? What do you see in terms of usage of headless for the different platforms?
So the initial movement and let's say the actual ask for the usage of this way of doing front end for e-commerce was initiated by creating mobile storefronts, and that's how PWA buzzword was popped up. So essentially, it creates a buzzword like a progressive web app. So those progressive web apps becomes an answer to a request of like how to make sure that increasing traffic from the mobile devices would not hit the wall of like super slow user experience on that specific medium. So that was create a specific way of interacting between those mobile devices and actual backends. And through this, essentially, it creates a path. And initially, Magento, as one of the basically systems that was adopted widely, and as well one of the systems that requires big resources from the hosting providers that host this system, and also the system that is used by merchants with big catalogs, with big amount of ad budgets, and so on and so forth. Magento was the initial system that actually created the need, let's say, of such solutions. And the majority of the storefronts popped up for Magento initially, and then the movement moved further, and essentially then popped up solutions for Shopify and BigCommerce, and moving forward for other solutions. But overall, like currently, from what I personally know, maybe there is some other solutions. There is Magento storefronts, Shopify storefronts, and BigCommerce storefronts. And there is open source connectors that allows you to output WordPress as a Gatsby static site generator, but it's not working with WooCommerce, let's say. So it's not necessarily can be called a fully functional e-commerce storefront. So it's like it's close to it, but it can be called as a WooCommerce enabled.
Okay. You did mention, because you sent me a few comments before we started the call here, and you did mention something about Shopify, about Headless having some benefits because you don't have to hire Shopify developers. Can you expand a little bit on that? Like, what kind of savings can you expect to make when you're working with Headless?
Yeah. So essentially, one of the spooky thing about like Headless and overall like a decision to switch to Headless is that you're losing editability. You will need to use developer on every step that you have, and so on and so forth. So from the real perspective of like when you're editing your store, in many cases you asking for help from time to time, and you basically adding some people to tweak or like change a template a bit, and that the editability of a specific theme is a bit questionable. Like in case you go and customizing, and deeper you customize it, the less editable it becomes. And if in case you create a fully custom theme, it's depends really on who is developing it and what budget it is, how customized it would be. But let's imagine we developing it the way it's a detached headless storefront, headless front end, and it would be a classic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It would be a classic React JS app, essentially. And the amount of developers that do know what to do with React.js is a lot more than the amount of developers that are familiar with Liquid. And it's not about that Liquid is a complex template language, because Liquid is nothing else than Twig or Jinja, because this template language is being around for a long period of time. It's just Shopify called it different name. So basically, the real thing that is differentiate Shopify developers, it's not that they know the Liquid template language, it's that they know all of those quirks that Shopify have inside. And the difference between the Shopify developer and the React.js developer is that the amount of those people and the actual focus on solving those quirks of the Shopify. And let's say if you put this aside, you would be able to build customer experiences unbiased. And this way you don't fight, you don't overhack, you can build it faster. And let's go by example. So if you would imagine, let's say, a classic way how you work with Shopify theme, you have it inside your Shopify admin panel. And oftentimes when I'm invited to the Shopify admin panel, I see the theme being cloned multiple times, because merchant invites developers and they want to change something. So they're cloning this theme to update something. They don't use source code versioning. There is no actual organization of the code. Then you go inside this theme and you see cloning of a specific files, of a Liquid files inside this theme, with some additional comments in the naming of this file. So the code organization is also messed up just because of the limitations of how the code editability in the Shopify itself works. So from that perspective, like, you would be able to accomplish things faster just because you don't need to fight with the things how Shopify organize its templates. You will accomplish things faster because you would be able to work through the organized, structured project. You can host it on GitHub, on Bitbucket. You can have all the history of all changes. Obviously, you can have it also on a classic Shopify theme as well. You can organize it through the Shopify console, and like more major Shopify agencies and developers would work like that, but not necessarily they introduce clients to this way of working and stuff like that. So all of those benefits, they come with like headless approach natively, and by default, and the overall work becomes more organized by default as well.
Okay, so if we're talking in more realistic terms and more practical terms, for people in the group that already have a store, whether it's on Shopify, BigCommerce, or Magento, whatever it is. Well, Magento would already be headless, I guess. But let's say Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce. What would it take, or what would make it worth it for them to switch over to a headless solution? Like, what are the kind of the factors or the requirements, or the kind of the main benefits that they should be looking for to make the switch?
So the main benefit that is being mentioned by merchants that I'm talking with is essentially performance that is achieved by switch, essentially. And this performance is coming from the way how this content is being delivered. And this content is being delivered from the CDN, and this content is pre-rendered. It is a static site generated. So it's server-side rendered pages. They are pre-rendered. They're being downloaded as binaries. So it's basically instant load. And there is an additional sort of like a psychological trick is the prefetching, because every time you just frozen your pointer on a link before you clicked, it's already prefetching this page before you even click. So it is like giving a fake sort of feeling that it's instantly loaded, but it was started loading even before you clicked. So this is like think on top, but what's really like byproduct of it is that you would be able to build pages cheaper. So let's say if you would go to a generic, let's say HTML markup website, and you will go like PSD to HTML in Google, you will find out that design to HTML costs $200, but design to Shopify costs $580. So if you would switch, and like if you plan to produce a lot of landing pages, and let's assume you would not use any drag and drop page builder, but you would design them custom, and then somebody custom code it for you in HTML, then you would have it cheaper. That's one of the things. Then let's assume you want also to play with multi-countries. So let's say you want to have a custom shop for Canada, and custom shop for UK, and custom shop for Australia and for New Zealand. Then it's also beneficial. Let's say you want to experiment more on marketing and slice traffic. So you would be able to do so simply because you have your front end hosted separately from Shopify. So you go to Cloudflare, you go to your hosting where you host your CDN, and you can slice and say like 10% of my traffic, let's slice it and show slightly different page. So depends on your marketing strategy. So if you more feeling about experimenting, that's totally opens more possibilities.
Great. Okay, so we do have a question here by Robert. I'll just show on the screen, but he's asking about prices. So what kind of price range can we expect for solutions for headless?
Well, honestly, like I can go through like those links that I sent to you, and like the full spectrum, and like the prices the prices are hidden, like in the majority of cases. So we have like a behemoth, which is Shogun, and Shogun released so-called Shogun frontend, and the only thing I heard from merchants that came from them and talked to us is like it's very expensive. That's like the what they said. So like from very expensive Shogun frontend to another one, Shogun alternative, and I don't know where to put the link. I will put probably in the chat. The another one alternative to Shogun is the Builder.io, and they have a public prices, so you can take a look. And the Builder.io is an alternative to the Shogun because they also offering drag and drop builder. So both Shogun and them are focusing on a fancy and cool, let's say, editor, because in our case, we don't have editor at all. We're just giving ability to use external headless CMSs like Sanity, Contentful, Strapi, or Storyblocks, or any of the client's choice, actually. So it's a bit different. But basically, all other solutions, they don't have public prices. In our case, we have also public prices. And we do have the price for the support. We do have price for maintenance hours, and those maintenance hours cost $65 on a monthly plan. And basically, license is free, just because we want as much as possible people using it, and we want to offer it to agencies, to developers, and basically, it's not being on GitHub or anywhere else because we didn't manage to build something that called documentation that we would not be ashamed for, and like it would look like okay. So essentially, like Front Commerce, Deity, Scandi PWA, and other solutions that I was listed as well, like Nacelle, getnacelle.com, View Storefront. They don't have publicly available pricing, so it's all depends on like who will request those prices, and like if you look, cool, the prices would be higher, or like more enterprises.
Right. If you look cool, they give you a discount.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have another question here. So if you have a chance to maybe post some of the links that you sent me, where I can post them as well, but in the conversation below this video later, or throughout this call or whatever, that could be useful for them to check out those links. Okay, so another question by Robert. He was asking, so I'm curious, if I were to use this, for example, like HubSpot, it takes me off of Shopify to their website. Is Headless redirecting you as a user? Or can I solely work on Shopify within Headless? Not sure if I understand fully the question, the last part especially. Or can I solely work on Shopify within Headless? Let's talk in the context of HubSpot.
Okay, so I'm not really see like how HubSpot takes you off somewhere. So like you can have like we have for example built a demo where you can manage the entire storefront from Shopify only. So you basically have the full content managed from Shopify admin panel. You have the full experience on the storefront. The moment you click checkout, it is always as an on every single Shopify store redirects you to the checkout is look unified way for every single Shopify store. So it's a classic Shopify store like it usually looks like. So this checkout is being crafted the way how Shopify enforced it to be crafted. So it's not possible to bypass it, and they even killed those additional apps that were existing till the January 1st, 2021. It was like 3 of them, at least those that I was know, and they're not accepting new signups of the customized checkouts for Shopify at least.
Right. Yeah, I saw some news about that because someone was asking about apps that did modify the checkout, because unless you have a Shopify Plus, you can't customize it. And so they blocked that. I mean, the reason they gave was for security. I'm not sure if that was the whole reason. I think
of course. The reason is to move people to Shopify Plus, but the fun part was that BigCommerce released the same date. They released a special library to make a fully customized checkout on their cheapest plans. So like you have like a fully mirroring strategy of like, if you ditch people, like they would grab them with the customized checkout.
I think that's a good selling point for BigCommerce, and I know that Lori in the group, Lori Appelman, has been talking a lot about BigCommerce versus Shopify, and one of the points she was mentioning is that you can actually customize the checkout, and other members have mentioned that as well in the group as a key differentiator with Shopify.
Exactly.
You have a lot more flexibility. So Robert is clarifying a little bit what he was saying. So what I'm saying is, when I work on a HubSpot, I'm not working on Shopify. But if I'm building pages with a page editor that I integrated to Shopify, I can manually code everything on Shopify. The page editor integrated to Shopify, I can manually code everything on Shopify. Okay. So I'm guessing a HubSpot editor for pages, for landing pages? Is that what?
So the HubSpot have editor for the landing pages.
Right. That's what
it's basically how the HubSpot landing pages builder works is that they creates a subdomain. So it basically, like, if we would have HubSpot integrated, it would work like try.domain.com. So it's not actually seamlessly integrates to the specific domain. It's require you to create a subdomain. But in case of if you're working with the storefront, it basically sits on your domain. It's like fully replace your front end. So you don't have like two front ends. And if you want to change your code, you don't edit it on Shopify. You don't use the theme editor on Shopify. If you want to change your code, you open your code editor on your computer, change your code, make a commit to the repository, and then this change is being deployed. So basically, this editability of the code is taking place on your local computer, and then you commit, like making a commit, you're pushing to the repository, and it's being deploying one of the, and it's a difference here. And one of the benefits here is that you basically able additionally to run a staging environment and like preview. Obviously, you can have like a additional instance of a Shopify and see all of your stuff going on, like before you do changes on your main store. But overall, like you can run your store with the multiple developers. But in general, like all your editing of the code, actual code, happens through the IDE, but the content you're editing on the admin panel.
Right. So in the case of HubSpot, you're mentioning that it goes into a subdomain. So would that be completely separate than the storefront that you edit, locally, and then you push, you commit? Would that be two separate things? Can you not integrate those and edit basically your HubSpot? I'm guessing what I understand from his question is that can you edit the HubSpot landing pages from the storefront? I don't think there's an integration there, right? It's a separate thing.
No, his example is like that. When you use HubSpot, it's actually have the editor, but it creates the additional place. So like that's at least how I understand it. But when we're talking about the storefront, it's replaced entirely. So it's not like an additional place. It's like you don't have front end that is running on Shopify. It is entirely replaces it. So you have the only one thing that runs is the code base, and you don't have any editor that is runs in the admin panel. You cannot run editor in your browser, like on HubSpot, like on the Shopify admin panel, where you can open the theme editor and change some liquid stuff. So if you're changing some HTML in your, let's say, theme, you change the stuff on your own computer and then make a push to the repository, and then you see it, on the store.
So maybe I'm just not understanding properly, but essentially you cannot create your Shopify landing pages. If you're using a storefront, it's completely replaced, and you're going to create those pages directly in your storefront, basically, by yourself with your code, right? So you're not going to use that HubSpot tool anymore to create.
So if you would have storefront and you would use HubSpot aside, your landing pages would be anyway on a subdomain, because that's how HubSpot works. HubSpot does not allow you to put the landing pages on your main domain.
Okay. So you can use both. You can create landing pages with HubSpot and then have your main front end through the storefront.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I can make a demo later and make a screencast, because we use personally HubSpot ourselves.
Okay.
So basically, I build landing pages in HubSpot, so I can make a demo of it, and that would be, because like that's the issue of the HubSpot. They don't allow to have the actual landing pages. Like that was driving me crazy, because SEO people saying that I need to have my blog /blog, not blog.b2 storefront. So basically, that's the issue with the HubSpot. It only allows blog.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, I mean, if you can share a demo, that would definitely be helpful to illustrate a little bit more that point. Okay, thanks, Robert, for the questions. That was interesting. So let's see. Was there other points that you mentioned in there? So when you operate through, you have the ability to build things using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You don't use Liquid, of course, because Liquid is within the Shopify editor, so or the code editor. So yeah, it does make the code easier to change them. It's HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I think that, like you said, there's a lot more programmers that are familiar with those than probably Liquid, and cheaper as well.
Yeah, so like what's the let's say benchmarking of the price of the hourly rates is that all the coding bootcamps are actually teaching React. All the coding bootcamps. Why they teaching React? Because all the behemoths like Facebook, Airbnb, and other guys that contributing to React actually contributing to React, and they using React. Shopify and BigCommerce using React, and they have their official like the Polaris UI, that is their UI components library for building the apps, is actually React components. So at the end of the day, like if you're going to and planning to build things for Shopify, you're anyway going towards React.js and stuff like that. And essentially, if you go to and like want to investigate like hourly rates of the like Shopify freelancers, you go to Carson, like Hey Carson, and see like their rates, and they say like simple tasks that should take no more than 30 minutes, and the platform charges like $89. So you can pretty much understand that like hourly rate is like obviously platform have its fee and so on and so forth, but at the end of the day, the hourly rate would not be lower than 75. But normally you would be able to find like React.js developers for $40, for $50, and overseas it would be like 30 and 35, and it would be okay quality at the end of the day.
Okay, let's just finish with one or two things that you mentioned here. I'm just trying to go through the comments you sent me before. I kind of gave us material for this conversation. You said you pull data, use it where you want. No issues on refreshing the browser if you want to get something simply because it's how relations are built. Can you expand a little bit on the refreshing issue? Yeah,
so essentially I was making a list of stores, and in many cases, especially on the beauty stores, I saw different quizzes, different type of wizards that's supposed to reveal a specific product, or like make sort of filtering, or like filters are a pretty good example as well. And then like you go, like you need to choose a skin type and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, it works the way that to show a next step, it basically takes parameters and then renders a next step based on those parameters. And to render it, you need to send those parameters back to the template. And that's how essentially things in themes works. Obviously, you can try and do work with more like fancy way with the JavaScript and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, things are being reloading, and you have stuff done the way that it's not supporting deep linking, and you have those parameters done through the not the deep link, but it's going after the question mark and the end. So when you arrive to the specific place, you're not able to send this link to someone and say like, yo, take a look on this, and they would see exact that place. So there is a bunch of limitations on how you can create more interactive experiences. And those limitations, while could be actually overcome, like you can overcome them, it's just like the amount of time spent on overcoming those limitations is not comparable to the amount of time that you would normally spend if you would just have a blank canvas. Like if I would just give you like a piece of paper and said like you have no limitations, you can just normally draw the thing and like that's fine. Or like you would need to change your hands and start drawing with the left hand instead of like usually hand you use. So that's the difference at the end of the day when you are actually going out of the general pattern of the Shopify classic theme, when you're not only just showing this is the category page, this is the product page. When you start crafting some sort of wizards, some sort of like kitting, like configuration sort of things, that becomes tricky and that could be challenging as well.
Understood. Okay, that makes sense. Well, listen, we've been going on for 38 minutes, so I want to respect your time. I wanted to keep this around 30 minutes, and it took us like 5 minutes to get started, so that's pretty good time to wrap up, I think. So if you guys watch this not live and you have questions for Anton or additional comments to keep the conversation going, just comment below, and we'll try to respond to those. Thank you so much, Anton, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, or I guess night.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me, and it was nice to talk.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.